Hi, good evening, everybody. I'd like to call to order the Lake County School Board meeting for Monday, June 26, 2017. If we would first begin with a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, please. Thank you. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening and welcome, everybody. We'll start off tonight with going directly to our superintendent for some updates.
All right, and I'm excited this evening as my update, to turn it over to Dr. Weiskopf, who's going to do some introductions for me this evening.
Good evening. So as you know, we recently reorganized the structure of the district, creating three geographic regions to make sure that all schools and all students get the targeted support that they need. And we had the pleasure last week of announcing the executive directors who will oversee these regions, and I wanted to bring them to you tonight to go ahead and introduce them to you so you could put a name with a face, as well as introduce our a couple other positions that are due to the reorganization as well. So I'm going to start with Katie Pearson. She's the Executive Director for Academic Services as of July 3rd. You want to stand up? At least they know. You probably know Katie. She's been a public school educator for 18 years and has worked in several Florida school districts, with her most recent role as Director of Teaching and Learning here in Lake County. She has district-level experience, multiple departments, leading them in initiatives and programs, school improvement, ELL, multi-tiered systems of support, professional development, and along with curriculum and instruction. She spent several years as a literacy coach and also as a district-level reading specialist. And she brings a track record of student achievement and high expectations, and I'm very happy to have her as one of the executive directors for us this upcoming year. Thanks, Katie.
Congratulations.
Hey, yeah. Thank you. So Mr. Rob Feltner is also here. He's the Regional Executive Director for Region 1. He'll serve Eustis High, Mount Dora High, Umatilla High, Eustis Middle, Mount Dora Middle, Umatilla Middle, Eustis Elementary, Eustis Heights Elementary, Seminole Springs Elementary, Sorrento Elementary, Triangle Elementary, Umatilla Elementary, Round Lake Charter, and Spring Creek Charter. No small area at all. Rob and his team of support will be housed at the Triangle Elementary campus. He's been a public school educator for the past 20 years, serving as an elementary and high school classroom teacher, coach, athletic director, assistant principal, and principal. His latest role has been the principal of the third largest high school in Clay County. He's taken a systematic and intentional approach of creating time for student interventions during the school day, and he's become a master in curriculum development and possesses the drive and motivational skills to move all schools performing status to schools of distinction. So I'm very happy to have him as one of our regional executive directors for Region 1. So thank you, Bob. Mrs. Renee Dudley is the Regional Executive Director for Region 2, serving Leesburg High, Tavares High, Carver Middle, Oak Park Middle, Tavares Middle, Astatula Elementary, Beverly Shores Elementary, Fruitland Park Elementary, Lake Hills, Leesburg Elementary, Tavares Elementary, Treadway Elementary, Rhymes, and the Villages Elementary. Renee and her team of support will be housed at the Lake County Schools main campus. She's served Florida Public Schools since 1995, where she started her career as a business teacher. She's been a teacher, a dean, assistant principal, and executive director in Marion County prior to coming here to Lake County Schools. Her school-based experience covers both elementary and secondary settings, and she has a proven record of successful district leadership through collaboration with stakeholders to increase student performance. So welcome, Renee. Glad to have you on the team. Our third regional executive director is Mr. Wayne Cockcroft. He is not new to Lake, of course. Born and bred, actually. He's in Region 3, serving East Ridge High, South Lake High, Lake Minneola High, Claremont Middle, East Ridge Middle, Gray Middle, Windy Hill Middle, Claremont Elementary, Cypress Ridge Elementary, Grassy Lake Elementary, Groveland Elementary, Lost Lake Elementary, Pine Ridge Elementary, Sawgrass Bay Elementary, Mineola Charter, and Mascotte Charter. Mascot. Sorry. I knew there was one I was going to mess up, right? Wayne and his team of support will be housed at the Claremont Elementary campus, Wayne has 29 years of service to Lake County Schools, serving as a teacher, coach, assistant principal, and most recently, he was the Director of Leadership for Lake County Schools. He brings a proven record as a highly successful principal within Lake Schools and has worked extensively with principal mentorship and leadership development. He also is welcome to the team, Dwayne. There's one more person I brought to introduce you tonight. I think it's we've had a lot of conversation about this position, and so I wanted to make sure that you knew who was taking the charge on and would lead us in this direction. But Frances Sellis is our new Director of College and Career Readiness. She's worked for the public school system for the past 15 years, serving as a behavior resource teacher, a school counselor, and a school administrator. Most recently, she's been the supervisor of secondary education, and her forward thinking led to the creation and implementation of 2 collegiate high schools. Her ability to increase access to accelerated programs for students through improving processes and creating partnerships with community stakeholders makes her a real asset to our Lake County team. So welcome, Frances. I hope that you get the chance to meet each of them personally after the meeting, so thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Do you have anything else?
No, I just want to thank you all for being here. I'm really excited for July 3rd to get here, and we're going to hit the ground running, and many of them have already been here the past couple of weeks and doing some work and interviewing, and so thank you for your commitment and your service to Lake County, and we just welcome you.
Very good. All right. With that, we've got, I think, a couple of changes coming to the agenda tonight, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Mr. Johnson, I know you had one item in particular.
Yes, sir. Item 1104, I'd been asked by the attorney for Lake Charter Academy to pull that for this evening. They're still putting together some additional information to present regarding their contract. This is not part of the invocation of a formal mediation process. This is just something they requested to do to see if it can be worked out.
All right. Thank you very much. Superintendent, did you have any others?
Yes, we have pulled 8.16. There was an error in the contract, so we'll need to bring that one back to you. So that one's been pulled. And we have also pulled 1101 for no action.
All right. Board members, any in particular?
I wanted to pull 10.06.
10.06, the I-ready. All right. And we have one public input card. It's for, well, actually we have 2 public input cards. One will be during the public input segment. The other one regarding Mineola Elementary, specific to 11.03. So we'll have, I'm not sure who I'm addressing, but we'll have that person come up when we get to that particular item on the agenda. So don't feel like I skip you when we go through public input. Your time is coming. With that, we'll go to the approval of the minutes.
Recommend approval of the minutes for the school board workshop, June 5th, 2017.
All right, there's a recommendation from the superintendent. Any motions?
So moved.
Motion by Bill and a second by?
Second.
Stephanie. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That's 4-0. And that brings us to the public input segment. First person will, well, actually the person we'll invite up during this segment is Lori Baxley. Come on down.
Sorry, that was my kids. So good evening. I am here tonight on behalf of Eustis Service League. Although some may consider this presumptuous, the Service League, the middle school PTO, Eustis Middle School PTO, and the Lake Eustis Chamber of Commerce have full confidence that the board and anticipate a 5-0 vote confirming Mr. Bill Miller as principal of Eustis Middle School tonight and Mr. Darius and Ms. Kelly Truitt as assistant principals. So that being said, our 3 groups will be hosting a community meet and greet for our new leadership at Eustis Middle School, and this will take place August 1st at 6 o'clock at the 1884 restaurant in Eustis. We would like to extend an invitation to Superintendent Cornegie, Dr. Weiskopf, Mr. Farnsworth, and all the board members to please join us if you're available. Although this is a meet and greet for many of us Eustis High School alumni, it's more of a welcome home for Mr. Miller. We're just thrilled. So we are honored.
Date and time again?
It is August 1st, 6 o'clock at 1884. And so we're honored to have his experience and leadership. Our goal is to show EMS's new leadership that the community is here to support them, and we're looking forward to working with them. So I'm going to take off my service league cap because I didn't know we were doing an iReady tonight. And so I just wanted to give a little parent input on that. In all honesty, I am not a proponent of iReady, and there are two reasons. One, I find it flawed. Last year, my youngest was allowed to access iReady during the summer to practice before the beginning of the year, and so we did that. And my husband and I found that he would input the correct answer, and it would be marked wrong. So then we would take the program and do the same thing. It would have things where a balloon would be shooting up, and you would have to click on the balloon with the right answer before it would pop. You would try to click on it, it wouldn't work, and then, of course, it would be counted wrong. So that being said, I am sure that we are not the only ones that experienced the flaws in the program. With the flaws, then it concerns me the reliance that some of the schools have on the program. And I can give you two examples of that. My oldest son, who when he was in 5th grade, going into 6th grade, Eustis Middle School, was going to do an experimental pre-algebra class. My oldest son has never gotten a B and is a very high flyer in math. I expected him in that class. I went and called to see if he'd be in that class and was told his iReady score was not high enough for him to be in it. There was no call out to the feeder schools to see who they thought the best students would be for that class, who would succeed. It was just a total reliance on a flawed program. Again, my son has never gotten a B. Secondly, my youngest son, as a straight A student,
I'll allow you one more minute.
thank you, as a straight A student this year, who worked very, very hard for those A's, didn't get his math award at the end of the year because he didn't meet his, quote, iReady level. So I would just ask that if we do keep this program, that it trickles down to the administrators, to the teachers. This is not a sole indicator of a student's performance, and they need to look at the whole student and realize the flaws in the program before just using that as the only definition of a child. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And we've pulled that, or Dr. Burns, I think you had requested to be pulled tonight, so we'll have some separate discussion on that, and we'll be able to address, I think, some of the points you brought up. So thank you for bringing those forward. With that, we'll jump right into our reports. Mr. Johnson, you're the only one listed. All right, we'll just keep on going. No unfinished business. That brings us to the consent agenda.
I recommend approval of items 8.01 to 8.15, 8.17 to 10.05, 10.07, and 10.08, and then 11.02.
We'll get to that one. That one's discussion.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
A little overzealous there.
You are. We've got a pace really going here, but through 10.08. All right. There's the recommendation from the superintendent. Motion by Bill and a second by Christie. Very good. Any questions before voting on the consent agenda? All right. Seeing none, well, let's put it to your vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The consent agenda carries 4-0. And that brings us to the items that we had for separate consideration tonight. The first is 10.06. Regarding iReady.
So I pulled 10.06, just for discussion at least. I understand that right now we're late in the game and that the schools, many of the schools are very used to using this program. We will not have iStation next year, which I think a lot of people will rejoice over. But we are looking like we're keeping iReady. I just wanted to bring up concerns I have about the program and things that hopefully we'll be looking towards in the future. One was the cost analysis that I got, and I think you guys got that, and the fact that it was $300,000, but the actual cost of running the program is $4.1 million. So that includes like district coaches, teacher coaches, the time that teachers take with the program. So our own accounting office, our accountability, has figured that that's a $4 million investment. So I think it needs to be a really well thought out, whether or not that time is of good use. And the other point was that in their executive summary, they brought up that they really needed the schools to follow the program with fidelity. And that included 45 minutes a week, preferably 15 minutes per day. And that the program would, the people, curriculum associates who makes the program would like the students to work on it at home. And a lot of our students don't have that. So I was hoping that we would have a consistent message. And I think I think there's maybe two, I don't know if we have good communication. I don't know if there's communication happening, or if we have a confusion. And so I wanted to bring it up. Did anyone else have any comments?
Yeah, and I mean, certainly I think from, if anybody's followed some of my comments on this board very closely at all, I have significant reservations for computer adaptive programming, particularly iStation, iReady. And I know in the piece we're talking about here for iReady, the diagnostic seems like the no-brainer to me because we have to know how our students are doing. And granted, we aren't tied to them specifically anymore, but we are still tied to some measurement of student achievement. As ridiculous as that whole process is as part of the teacher evaluation, that's a whole separate topic there. So I know we've got to have the diagnostic portion here. So really that raises the question of the instruction side of this thing. And, well, certainly it's hard to argue that a computer takes the place of a great teacher. That being said, I think if there are some district parameters that go along with this, then I'd feel comfortable too. And I know the superintendent, you and I have had a chance to talk about some of those. One being, is there some sort of homework policy that might be able to come forward which would help address that at-home usage? As a parent of 3 elementary school students who just come home with this pile of computer homework, we've got this funnel effect as they're competing for it. I'll tell you that I've experienced from watching at home the very same thing that Ms. Baxley shared with tonight about students clicking the right answer that it says is wrong, and then I meet my endless frustration as a parent also clicking the right answer that it tells me is wrong. It's like, well, just pick a wrong answer and let it get past you, to the point where sometimes the student even might do so well in the program that now it advances the instruction beyond what the student's ready for, doesn't really give them the background on any of the methods and the strategies. So then the student is just kind of going blind without getting the firm basis in math. And I think you've spoken at length about that before too. So I know a few of us have those concerns. So I think my comfort would lie in what is the message sent from the district to the schools in terms of assigning it for homework and looking at required minimum usage. My experience as a teacher is that something that works well for another student might not work for all.
Right, and then I wanted there to be a mesh between when I talked to accountability, because I understand, like, as a scientist, I would design exactly what they designed. I would be like, I want people on 100%. I want every account. I would do it exactly the way they did it. But as a parent, I don't want my kid on iReady at home when they could be, I don't know, cooking with me. Like, that's a learning thing too. I mean, I don't know. I feel like they can do homework at home, but more computer time at home is unnecessary.
Well, and I think that the drawback from this perspective is that the time they're spent doing iReady at home does not necessarily correlate to what lesson they're working on in class. Because iReady looks at the big picture, and here are all the standards you're deficient on, which certainly you need to correct in time for the end of the year. But at the same time, you also want them as a parent to have some reinforced practice on what you're actually learning. So when you go to take the test at the end of that chapter, you've had a chance to practice it. So anyway, I know we've shared a lot of concerns, but I know you've got some insight that you'd like to throw in out there.
Just for the public, because I know you all are aware of this, that Dr. Weisskopf and I went to the road and we did a number of teacher focus groups, and we asked the same questions in every group. We said, what are the things that are working that you want to continue? And what are the things that you would like to stop or revise? Overwhelmingly, iReady Math was something on the continue list. So that played a lot into our decision as to whether or not we were going to renew this contract, because we know that teachers find it of value and they like having access to the program. I think you've identified exactly what we have determined to be more in the revision column. of what they wanted to continue is defining what fidelity actually looks like and what is the purpose of the program. And I believe that was in the report as well from the accountability department, that we need to go back and really define what is the purpose of the program and how is it to be implemented, and then ensure that the implementation is with fidelity, because it was very hard for them to really determine the return on investment when there was multiple layers and levels of implementation across different schools. So standardizing that would certainly be something that we need to do. One being that it is not intended as homework. That's something that we need to clearly define. And it is not for all students. So the idea that every child cycles through a small learning center using iReady was not the intent, and we need to go back and clarify that. It was a Tier 2, Tier 3 intervention for those students that needed it. And we need to better define exactly how we're going to use it and make sure that it's used and for the intent that it was purchased to be utilized. So we're going to be establishing what are the guidelines for its usage and making sure that everyone is well aware of how we're to use it. So hopefully that will address your concerns, as well as give us a true indication of whether or not it is improving student achievement by being able to go back and really look at the usage and the impact on improving student achievement or not.
And for me, I know it does give me a significantly greater level of comfort. I guess my follow-up to all that is, through the experience I've seen the last few years, is that we as a district will say that something is not mandated, but then a principal will go in and make that site-based decision to mandate it, saying, well, it comes from the district. And so then teachers come to us at the district, say, why are we doing this? And we're saying, no, it's site-based, but the principal's saying it's, and I don't know if that's, that they're saying that because they'd rather take the pressure off and have that go back to the district, or just because they believe in the value of that decision. So I guess how do we ensure that principals don't go in and then site-based mandate that every student's going to use it for 90 minutes a week?
So Dr. Weiskopf and I have talked about this. It is on our list of things that we're going to discuss at our next principals meeting, and we will also put out a written directive to clarify.
And I think, looking back at the usage and why people were using it, I know it's tied to our teacher evaluation, and that's like a totally different topic. And I think that's, again, where I'm comfortable with the parameters and the concerns you've raised. But I feel like some of them did that specifically because the students will make more gains if their students are on it more. And so they did want their students to make more gains because then the school score, there's so much that's been tied to iReady unintentionally, consequential to that. So I'm encouraged to see how that's going to look different.
It will look different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Other questions or comments? All right, well, I think you could put a motion out there for us so we can,
All right.
so we can vote on it.
I recommend approval of the renewal of iReady Diagnostic and Instructional Online Math Software.
All right, there's a recommendation from the superintendent for the approval of 10.06, the iReady Diagnostic and Instruction Online.
So moved.
Motion by Christy and a second by Stephanie. Any other questions or comments before voting? All right, I think we're ready. All those in favor say aye. 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 Opposed, nay. All right, unanimously. For our discussion items, let's see, your item 11.01 has been pulled for no action tonight, so we'll go straight into 11.02, sale price of meals.
The item before the board is tentative approval to School Board Policy 8.411, sale price of meals. If there's anyone here this evening that wishes to speak to this particular policy, then please come forward to the podium at this time. Mr. Chairman, I don't see anyone coming forward and believe it appropriate to close the public hearing.
All right, thank you very much.
I recommend approval of item 11.02, tentative approval of revisions to policy 8.411.
All right, there's a recommendation from the superintendent. Any motions?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Stephanie and second by Bill. Questions or comments before voting? Ready? All right, all those in favor of 11.02 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That one carries 4-0. Brings us to 11.03. We do have two public input cards on that one, but yeah, we'll hear from those folks. First one, Don Steger? How do I say that properly? And please tell me how to say your last name properly. Steger. I got it right the first try. All right, excellent.
Thank you for letting me address you this evening. We moved to the area from Winter Garden to Mineola about 3 years ago as my son was entering first grade, and he was at that time at Foundation Academy. And as a parent, we moved 2 weeks prior to the new school year beginning, and you start to go into a bit of a panic. Do we move to the new school system? Do we keep him where he was? You know, you don't. I didn't really know anything about these schools in that area, so. Trying to weigh the odds, I preferred not to have a 30-minute drive each way 2 times a day, and saving the tuition was going to be wonderful for us as well. We took a leap of faith, and we were zoned for Mineola Charter, and we put him in there, and it was honestly the best decision that we've ever made. The school is amazing. The teachers, they are so caring. Mrs. Watts does an amazing job with communication. He feels loved. He is challenged in the educational process. After enrolling him, I began meeting many other people in the area that said, oh, your son goes to Mineola Charter. Our children went there, best school in the area. It's just absolutely wonderful. My husband and I have been already talking for about 1.5 years that as he gets closer to middle school, what are we going to do at that point? Are we going to stay in the school system, or are we going back to a private school? And we actually had made the decision to go back to private school upon him entering middle school. So when I heard that Mineola Charter wanted to expand into middle school, it's like our prayers were answered. It was just wonderful, and I would do anything for this school. I think it's just a wonderful experience. I will share with you that the first week that of first grade when our son began going to school, when we tuck him in at night and say his prayers, again, as a parent, you're nervous. Is he going to like the new school? Did we make the wrong decision? And we hear him at night saying, dear God, thank you for my new school. I love my new school. And it's all dedicated to Mrs. Watts and the teachers and what they do. So thank you for your time, and I hope to see it continue through middle school.
Thank you for your comments tonight. We have one other public input card about this one, and that's from Laura Bronin-Contry. Yeah? All right. All those years of calling roll, you know.
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. I have 2 children at Mineola. I am also the PTO treasurer for the 2nd year coming now. And I moved here as well, but a little further from New York. And I have a son with autism. We started out in our zone school. I thought I did everything I needed to do to make sure that that school was going to be a good fit for him. And 6 months down the road, it wasn't. And here I am, new state, don't know anyone, where am I going? Went to some of the autism units in the other Lake County schools, and basically none of them could help me. And I went to Mineola, and I sat down with Mrs. Watts, and I said, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do. And she said, I will never turn a child away. And if you work with me, I will work with you. And that has stuck with me the past 4 years. And what she has done for my son and what that school has done for him, it's just amazing. And what she can offer is only what he could get at a charter school. And I am in full support of them expanding. The area is growing so much, so rapidly. And they're thinking about restaurants and mattress stores and all these other things, but no one's thinking about where these kids are going to go to school. And coming from New York, where you've got 30 kids, 35 kids in a classroom, that's what's going to happen if we don't start making accommodations for all these children who are moving to the area. Just in the 4 years alone that I've been here, I've seen what has transpired and so many homes and developments, you know, opening up. The school is just an amazing environment. Everyone knows all of the children. You feel safe sending your children there. You feel, you know, Mrs. Watts is always in communication with you, letting you know what's going on. Anytime there's been any kind of issue, we're getting text messages, or it's just posting it on the school's page, so we all know what's going on. She makes learning, she engages the children, which with technology is very hard to do. It's very hard to get them excited and motivated to come to school every day. And that's what this staff does. They make the everything is just exciting, and, you know, really the kids are ready to learn and want to go to school. And that's why I'm part of the PTO, because I want to be able to give back to the school and be a part of it. And my youngest daughter, you know, she was able to offer them the wraparound program for VPK, where the kids could go to school all day. And many of the kids coming from private programs where they were used to going all day. And now they're going to go into a VPK program where it's only half a day. But she made it affordable. She made it, you know, where the kids could go. And, you know, and there was no option for me as far as where my daughter was going to go for kindergarten. You know, she's enrolled in Mineola, and even though it's a little further for us, it's certainly where I want her to be.
All right. Thank you very much for
Thank you very
sharing
much.
tonight. All right. Superintendent would like to put a recommendation out there for us, and then we'll.
I would. I
for discussion.
recommend approval of item 11.03, amendment to the Mineola Charter School Contract to have the addition of sixth grade, the adjustment of student capacity, the use of the board facility on school campus, and rehabilitation and remodeling of facility within SREF at Mineola's charter's cost.
All right. Very good. There's a recommendation. For
So
the
moved.
superintendent. A motion by Bill and a second by Stephanie. Any questions or comments before we vote? I know that we have had the benefit of multiple workshops on this one, as well as inviting all the folks from Mineola Elementary to come in and work through those. Certainly, it's kind of some uncharted territory for us in trying to expand a conversion charter, but I think what we've got before us is a good thing. And judging by the support out there from your school, something you all are probably pretty excited about, and something your parents are excited about. So unless you all have anything else to add, it looks like we're ready to vote. All right. All those in favor of approving item 11.03 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. That one carries 4-0. And that brings us to the end of all of our voting items tonight. So with that, we'll move into superintendent's report on the agenda.
So it's a busy summer. People often think that things wind down during the summer months. That is really not true. This week, we're interviewing 45 candidates for our principal vacancies, getting to know all of our assistant principals, and I just tell you, I'm so impressed, and just know that we have a lot of wonderful people ready to move into leadership positions, and so it's exciting to see how prepared they are and what the future holds for them professionally and for us as a district under their leadership. So we will be announcing those probably around mid-July, who will be our next two principals, and so bring that to you then.
All right. Excellent. Any letters of condolence to bring forward tonight or to report on?
Yes, we have two. There's one letter of condolence sent to Debbie Stedlin. She's the assistant principal at Lake Hills in the loss of her son, Ron. And to David Walker in the loss of his mother, Aretha Elizabeth Walker. And if you don't know David, he runs the AV and all of the technical things here for us for this meeting and works here in the commission chamber. So thank you to David for what he does, and condolences in the loss of his mother.
All right. Thank you very much. Board member comments. We'll start at the end. Krista, you get to kick us off tonight.
Yes. I don't have a lot, but I did have the pleasure of meeting Mr. Randolph, who will be the new principal, for Leesburg High School. And that man is an amazing ball of energy. He has so much excitement, and he's so excited to become a part of the community. I was really excited when I met him at how competent and smart and bright and funny and excited, and he just seems like he'll be an inspiring leader in Leesburg. I was really, really pleased by when I met him. And I'd also like to, I'm happy to work with Renee, Miss Dudley. I haven't met you yet, and I look forward to after the meeting. So welcome, and welcome to our Region 2 district. And that's all I have.
Thanks so much. Bill?
I think I'm good.
All right. Stephanie?
I was just going to second what Dr. Burns said in regards to our new staff, and thank you guys for coming. We're super excited to have the regions and under the direction of Mrs. Cornegie, and congratulations to Mr. Cockcroft and Mrs. Pearson. We're super happy that you guys are still with us. So that's it.
Indeed. This past week, Commissioner Parks and I had our regular coffee and conversations. Our superintendent was kind enough to be our special guest and create quite a draw because we had, it was standing room only there in Kiki's in our section of the restaurant. People were pounding on the door to get in. When I walked in, the restaurant was already packed and they were ready to get moving. So, so thank you so much for coming and being our special guest on that, having that chance to engage with the community. I always like to share with the board some of the popular topics that were brought up by folks coming forward, and one of those, printing of all things. We always hear about the perpetual problems of printing, and that's where I felt good being able to share the news of what we had approved at our previous board meeting last go-round, that allows them the portability of getting copies at different places, and that flexibility is going to be helpful. So they were thrilled to hear that. Also heard continuing about the role of guidance counselors, which they were thrilled to hear that that's a topic our board is continuing to address. And the other popular topic was House Bill 7069 and how it's going to vary school districts across the state. That one I didn't have more positive news to share, unfortunately, rather than the efforts that our board had committed to in trying to combat some of those. And anyway, a little friendly reminder, board members, your financial disclosure is due July 3rd if you haven't had that thing notarized and sent in. 3rd? Yes, because normally it's the 1st, but the 1st is a Saturday, so the 3rd. Although the form does in one place say July 1st, the other place says July 3rd, and the July 3rd is in the bold print with the bigger font. So I think that's the one they really meant. Just do it before the weekend.
Due Friday, right?
Yes, yes. And finally, as I look at some of the folks you brought forward, it's a good reminder that when we hire a superintendent, not only are we trying to get somebody full of great instructional strategies and to bring that wealth of knowledge to the district, but also to surround yourself with a great team who will be able to go out and implement those. And I feel really confident that these folks that you've brought forward and seeing the snippets, the biographies about these folks, some of the credentials that you all bring to Lake County, welcome. I'm really thrilled to have you here, and I can't wait to see where we go. With that, unless you all have any final thoughts to add, I think we're ready to adjourn. All right, we stand adjourned.